Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review a film that's honestly one of my most anticipated films of 2017, about one of my favorite superheroes, if not probably my favorite comic book character from my favorite group of comic book heroes. It is Logan. This is Hugh Jackman's final run as Wolverine, and boy was this movie really awesome. And it hit me really, really hard. Most of the time, most of my time through college, I had my Wolverine mutton chops. I'm a huge Wolverine fan, and when I found out that this was going to be his last go around, I was upset finding that out, but really hoping that he would go out with a bang after being Wolverine for 17 years. And you know what? He really does. This film was really, really well done, and by far, I know this isn't saying a whole lot, but by far the best Wolverine film and one of the best X-Men films ever put to film. And what James Mangold does in directing and writing this film was extremely impressive. What he created was a very dystopian looking environment in the future, but is scary because it's not too far off from where we are right now. And the story he tells is impactful and brutal, and how he tells it and how he shows it is really impactful. This is a 2 hour and 15-minute film. Overall, the pacing is well done. One things that I can say as a negative, which I do have a few negatives. I'm not giving this film an A plus, even though I really wish I could. There's some scenes that I felt like could have been cut. Things could have been trimmed down a bit. It dragged a little bit in certain parts, which this film was 2 hours and 15 minutes. Didn't have to be 2 hours and 15 minutes, but the saving grace is that the tone of this film is so perfect and consistent through the whole entire film. James Mangold does a fantastic job of doing that and getting fantastic performances out of almost everybody involved in this film, and really balancing a interesting dark film that a whole lot of superhero movies won't take that step to go to. And when it comes to the pacing of this film, overall, I wouldn't say bored at any point. And like I said, there were some scenes I felt like could have been trimmed down or cut. They weren't super needed, but at least everyone involved kept them interesting. And in terms of the writing of this film, this is a really interesting story and really digs deep into some of these characters like Logan and Professor X that we've never got to see before. How in depth and deep they drill down into these characters. And I think that's really, really cool that we get to see these different sides of these characters. They're old, they're falling apart, and overall, the characters in this film, Logan and Professor X, Caliban, one of the only other mutants in this film, was an interesting character. And then you have Laura, who's this young mutant that they're trying to protect. And such a cool character. And overall, the villains were hit and miss in this film. I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, so I have to be a little vague on some of the villains in this film. But overall, the one main one that you see the most was interesting enough. And getting into performances, Hugh Jackman was amazing. And honestly, I could see Hugh Jackman really getting consideration from the Academy Awards for this film, because this was one of the most powerful performances I've ever seen in any comic book movie. And just taking a step back from that genre, this was an impactful, powerful performance. And Patrick Stewart, I really hope gets some recognition for Best Supporting Actor, because he brought it for this film and made Professor X one of the most interesting incarnations of this character yet to be on film. And Daphne Key, who plays the young girl Laura in this film, her physical acting in this, because she's pretty mute for most of the film, the performance she puts out is fantastic. And the way she works with Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. Overall, those three performances really carry the film, and they're the main focus. Everyone else is picking things up. Boyd Holbrook, who plays the blonde guy with the mechanical hand, villain, one of the Reavers, he was good. He was charming. He was in it more in the first half of the film. You take a step back and don't see a whole lot of the villains towards the second half of the film until you get to really the end of the film, but I thought he did a good job. Most of the other villains were kind of just like, there they are. But overall, the villains could have been a little stronger, but that doesn't take away from how amazing the main cast was for this film. And that really carries it. The music by Marco Beltrami, was not expecting the kind of score that they're going to have in this film. A lot of piano, a lot of not super heavy music in this film, but it fit so well. Are there parts in the score that I'm going to be listening to on my own? No, it didn't. It's not super memorable like that. Not like the X-Men theme, but like it really captures the film and the tone of this film and elevates it, and that's the most important thing. And John Matheson, who does the cinematography, this film is gorgeous. One of the most gorgeous comic book movies I've ever seen. Because I know a lot of the MCU films get criticized for having a drab cinematography, very gray kind of stuff, but this film burst out with the style that they had putting this film together. And so there are some weaknesses with the editing of the film. Some of the action sequences were a little incomprehensible because of a lot of quick cuts, which was disappointing. But as I've mentioned in other videos, I'm very snobbish about action sequences and how you shoot them. And there was one scene in particular that I felt like was not done the greatest, and it took a lot of impact away from the scene, which I'm not going to say, but there is a scene that should have hit more impactfully but really didn't because editing and how that scene was portrayed, and that really hurt that part of the film for me. But overall, this R rating, this violence, the gore in this film felt so realized and was significant to the success of telling the story, which I'm really happy that they did that well. And overall, I loved Logan, and I was tearing up by the end. And movies don't affect me on that level that often, but for somebody who's been connected with this character for almost my whole entire life, this was a big thing for me getting to see this film and this finishing Hugh Jackman's journey. And I'm gonna give this film an A minus. It is very, very close to an A. There's just, from a film perspective, a couple of things that really stuck out to me that doesn't put it up to there, but from just an enjoyment and what I got out of it, this movie hit me hard and was really impactful. And go out to see Logan. Probably don't take your kids. Don't take your kids. This is not a kids movie, but if you love this character, go out and see him on his one last ride.